What is up, everybody? This is your host, Dedrian Cologne for City of Wrestling Showtime. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, all social media platforms. Man, there's a lot to get into. You got AEW Collision. There's what's MLW's King of Colosseum. There's contract news. There's um, oh my God, trademarking news. There's so much going on in the world of professional wrestling, especially today. Like I said, you got MLW King of Colosseum event. You have House of Glory. What else? You had Mustafa Ali's first match post WWE overseas. Man, you had so much stuff going on, and this is just Saturday, mind you. It's only the sixth day of the year, and there's so much that's gone on. We have The Rock return. You had Deonna Purrazzo debut at AEW. You had the throwback show of TNA Wrestling. Then there's the news of the TNA Wrestling new design for their belts being revealed, and I'll get into that in this episode of Showtime. And I'm trying to think of anything else, man. There's just so much going on. Of course, you had the Royal Rumble matches announced yesterday on Smackdown, and that was a whole thing with that Karrion Kross and his faction with Authors of Pain and Paul Ellery. There's so much going on in the world of professional wrestling. I am enjoying it, and I hope you guys who are watching this are enjoying it as well. Let's get into this. So I'm going to start off with AEW Collision. Normally, you guys are used to my ratings. I gave it a decent but peculiar. Like, this was a really I don't want to say weird, but it didn't feel off, but it kind of like it was very peculiar. Um, there was a total of 7 matches, which normally there's like 5 or 6, and it was just I don't know, it was just really peculiar with the matches. Adam Copeland uh, had a open challenge with Griff Garrison, which was like, okay, we normally see him on Ring of Honor with Cole Carter and Maria Kanellis, who was also there, and it's like, okay, that's interesting. But man, the main event, House of Black, FTR, they did their thing. Go out and watch that match. That was a fun match. You had an interesting person come down to help FTR, and I'm going to get into it right now. Daniel Garcia, yes, Daniel Garcia helped FTR. It was a back and forth match. Brody King comes towards the end. He's walking down, and then someone just starts running from the back with the chair, hits him, and it's Daniel Garcia. I did not anticipate that. Of course, he has this thing that he's been going through with the Continental Classic and Daddy Magic, but it actually makes sense because of Dynamite. Um, it was it Brody King, all the guys from the Continental Classic, that match, and if you remember, Brody King, he kind of muffed Daddy Magic, and Daniel Garcia kind of took offense to that. So it made sense because like, oh, I forgot they did this. But just seeing the pairing of Daniel Garcia and FTR, many people online, including myself, I'm like, man, that's a very intriguing pairing and combination. They could easily win the trios title in AEW. They should win the trios title. There's quite a few champions right now in AEW that there should be new champions, and those champions should move on to something else. But hopefully that changes at Revolution or before Revolution. But yeah, this was a very intriguing pairing. Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews and Brody King got the upper hand. They just started beating them down. Malachi did a spinning kick to Dax with a steel chair on his head. His wife and his child were looking on, and it's like, oh man, that's intense. But yeah, that was really interesting. And of course, how could I forget? You had Julia Hart doing a ringing the bell, but the commentators were saying like, oh, it's kind of like a 10-bell salute. So that was a really interesting way to end Collision. It was a good way to end Collision. Like, that was a good conclusion to the show. I kind of wish that there was a lot more aggressiveness, intensity, just feistiness. You saw it in the Eddie Kingston Trent Beretta match when you saw it. Like if you watch that match again, you can actually see when Eddie Kingston did his spinning forearm. I think it's the spinning forearm that he does, and you could see Trent like kind of like got up too soon and hit him right on the bridge and like broke his nose and or busted his nose and he was just bleeding. Like that was a very aggressive match. But after that, it was just like the aggressiveness, the intensity, the feistiness, the stakes that we are accustomed to watching in AEW and people fighting for stakes. It was like something's missing. Like they're there, but you're not there. That's why I gave it the rating. Decent but peculiar. Actually, I gotta say, the backstage segments were actually the highlight of this show because there was a lot of things that were happening in these backstage segments. Like, oh, okay, this is leading to this. This is leading to this. All right, I like this. You had the Bullet Club Gold. They were doing an interview with Renee Paquette, I believe, and the Acclaimed walks in, and the Bullet Club Gold, or more so, Jay White. He's just like, I don't know why you guys are here. You guys don't know what it is. Uh, Adam Cole is my business, and then um, Max Caster, he goes to Jay White. He's like, well, I know what it is to want to go after them because they attacked us. And Anthony Bourne's like, they're arguing back and forth. And Anthony Bourne's like, stop, 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 stop. Like, they threw me through a glass. And this is where things get really interesting. And it's like, where is this going to go? But it's very intriguing. And this is, mind you, this is the second thing on Collision where it's subtle. It may be minute to some people, but as it progresses, it has a lot of potential to go somewhere really good. And Anthony Bowens looks at Jay White and he's like, you know what? I've been here in AEW for a while, and I've noticed and know that in order for you to get to the top, you got to be in a faction. So, something to think about. And he walks away and it's like, ooh, the Acclaimed and Bullet Club Gold. Like, that's interesting. I'm really interested to see where that goes. I have a few thoughts came to my mind. I was like, it's either going to be a swerve where they're going to feud with each other, or like we're probably going to get a double turn where the Guns realign with their dad and the Acclaim align with Jay White, and of course when Juice Robinson comes back. So that's how I saw it. Or they might just all join forces and the Bullet Club and the Acclaimed are one. Like that, I don't know. It's just really cool to see where where could this go and where is this going to go with the Undisputed Kingdom. And Matt Taven and Matt Bennett were there defending their ROH titles, which they won. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where that goes. And then we had the vignette of Hook calling out Samoa Joe. So, mind you, of course, people are like, oh, it's going to be this Wednesday. They didn't mention it. They didn't announce it as of this recording. It might be added on or something like that. So you have that, and it's like, ooh, Hook versus Samoa Joe. Like, mind you, I've been pretty adamant on social media. Like, I really wish AEW would put Hook in the Blackpool Combat Club. Like, he just fits with those guys, and to have him tag with like a Claudio, like he just fits with the Blackpool Combat Club more than Wheeler Yuta. For me, Wheeler Yuta, he kind of fits more with the Don Callis family than he does with the Blackpool Combat Club. And it's just like, man, it'd be so cool if he was like, oh man, it'd be so cool. So you have that element tonight. And then, of course, they announced that Battle of the Belts is next week. Battle of the Belts 9. I kind of wish they would, with Battle of the Belts, add other promotions to the show where other promotions are defending their titles. Because at this point, the previous 8 Battle of the Belts, there's not been any title changes on Battle of the Belts. So it's kind of like I don't know, it's like the show, like it has a lot of promise, or it did have a lot of promises. Like, ooh, Battle of the Belts, there might be title changes. And there hasn't really been much creative for Battle of the Belts. Like, it's just been the champions defending their titles. That's it. I think the only battle of the belts that was really intriguing was when Britt Baker fought Rio, and I forgot what it was. It was the same night as, actually, ironically, Hard to Kill, when Mickey James and um, Chelsea Green were wrestling, and Matt Cardona helped her win. Like, yeah, that was the last time. Like, that was like the last like decent battle of the belts, but we'll see next week. And they announced that Ricky Starks and Big Bill will be defending their AEW World Tag Team titles against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. I wish Ricky Starks wasn't in this tag team, and I wish he was going after the international title, which I wish he was dethroning Orange Cassidy for the AEW International title. And I wish Sammy was off doing his own thing. And it's just, this is one of the things that I wish AEW, they have the bad habit of getting into these like really stagnant programs and angles, and they stay there for a long time. And it's not like, okay, we're here, but we got to pivot, get out of here, because it's not clicking. We got too much talent in this stagnant angle to be here. Like, they need to be doing something active, and you got to pivot somewhere. And AEW has a bad habit of not pivoting from stagnant stories, and hopefully that's not the case in 2024. Fingers crossed. But overall, like, Collision, I mean, it was decent. Like I said, it was decent, but it was peculiar, and yeah, it was just it was a complete 180 from Dynamite. That was a fun show. That was dope. Tonight it was just really, I don't know, it was just really peculiar. I haven't heard any backstage news, nothing drama or anything like that. If some wrestlers were under the weather, missing, they had to do changes, I haven't heard anything like that. That might come out tomorrow or something like that, or Monday. But I mean, it was decent. I mean, you have Daniel Garcia, FTR. That's something to look forward to. You have Bullet Club Gold and the Acclaim possibly joining forces. You have Hook, who called out Samoa Joe. Um, and then, you got Eddie Kingston defending his title. We'll see. There's probably going to be a Trent Beretta, Eddie Kingston rematch. I mean, you had Sting his last time in the Greensboro Coliseum. That was really cool. That was the first match. He got in there, did his thing. He gave a fiery promo for this Wednesday. It's going to be a tornado tag between Powerhouse Hobbs and Konosuke Takeshita versus Darby Allin Sting, which kind of figured, because Sting is always, like, most of the time he's been in tornado tags as of late. So more than likely, I would anticipate Sting and Darby winning. Again, this is one of those programs. Okay, it's Sting. He's finishing up his career. But you got Hobbs and Takeshita over here, and it's like, like, you gotta do something. So it's just, with AEW, it's interesting, and it's something that unfortunately, they get into this interesting situation in January, and it's been like that since, you could say, 2022, when Cody was about to leave. It's been like that for like the last 2 years, where they just get into this real weird creative situation that they don't have to be in, and then after Revolution, then that's when things just boom, 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 boom start going. I don't know what it is. It's just really weird. But moving on, in other wrestling news outside of Collision, Mustafa Ali, in his first post-match, Mustafa Ali's first post-WWE match, he was at the APA company, and I believe it's in France, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, the Association Les Professionnels du Catch. I believe that's what it is. He defeated Aguil Blanc, and he cut an emotional promo. You can check out his social media to watch the promo. It's pretty, it hits, and it's so good to see him outside of WWE. Like, he's jacked. He's ready to take off, and he's gonna do some big things. So go check that out. His first post WWE match. I know the promos. It's on his Twitter, and I know it's on his Instagram. So go check it out. Listen to it. A lot of people pulling for him. I'm pulling for him. I'm excited to see the many matches that he's going to have on the independent scene, and maybe, just maybe, he might be the person that Scott D'Amore has been saying has the big signing for TNA Wrestling next week. He could be it. If it is, that's going to be dope. Hopefully, him, and a few of those guys in TNA revitalize that damn X division, like kind of taking it back 10 years ago when Sabin, AJ Styles, Petey Williams, Sanjay Dutt, Samoa Joe, um, man, who else? Man, who else was in that X division that was killing it, man? They put on some beautiful matches, man. I missed that X division from like 2004, 2003 to like 2005, 6, man. Oh, man, I missed that division. In other news, speaking of TNA Wrestling, they tweeted this out earlier today that they will be revealing the latest designs for their TNA belts. And it's funny because on my watch along on my personal TikTok account, which you could follow me on Dedrian180, I have all the wrestling stuff on there on my TikTok and everything. I was on the watch along with a good friend of mine on TikTok. Go follow him, light skin Gasian. And he asked me, he's like, man, when is TNA gonna like their new belt designs? You know, they're transitioning from Impact Wrestling to TNA Wrestling. He's like, man, when are they gonna do it? And ironically, this falls in there. So, from January 7th to January 11th, they're gonna be revealing the latest designs at 1 p.m. And January 7th is going to be the X Division title. January 8th is going to be the tag team titles. January 9th, it's going to be the digital media title. January 10th, it's going to be the world title. And January 11th, it's going to be the Knockouts world title. And then on January 13th, which is hard to kill, they're going to reveal the Knockouts world tag team titles. I actually thought this was really interesting that they would reveal the world title in between the digital title and the Knockouts world title, and that's really interesting. So it makes me think, like, is there gonna be a surprise with the Knockouts division at Hard to Kill, considering they're revealing the newest design, the TNA Wrestling design of the Knockouts World Tag Team titles. So that's really interesting. That it's like, that's really interesting. Normally, when a company changes its designs or something like that, they'll leave the world title as the last. But it's interesting that they leave the Knockouts World Tag Team titles last. Something to keep in mind. Moving along, in other wrestling news, AEW trademarked Get the Feeling. It's reported from Fightful, and it's for educational entertainment services. So that might be something along the lines of what WCW used to do with Where the Big Boys Play. So that might be their new tagline going into 2024 some point in this year. Get the feeling. Get the feeling. So I don't know. It might be something else. Also, the Royal Rumble. The two Royal Rumble matches, you got the Fatal 4-Way, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, and LA Knight and Randy Orton. They're going to be fighting for the WWE the undisputed universal title that Roman Reigns has. That's what it is. Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the United States title at Royal Rumble. And on SmackDown, like I mentioned before, you had Karrion Kross, Scarlett, Paul Ellery, and the Authors of Pain. That is the latest faction. I actually like that faction. That is visually they look really cool. Hopefully, there's more that they will be doing there. Again, Karrion Kross has always had a very good presentation, but then it's like after the presentation, there's really, and I'm not gonna say it's him. It's more creative where they just focus on the presentation and not something that really has him sink his teeth into something very creative. Hopefully that's different with the Authors of Pain. Paul Ellery and Scarlett with him, that now he has some guys creatively with him to bounce off of and just go somewhere. And actually, he looks like a really badass faction leader. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, WrestleCon in Philadelphia, reported by PW Insider on WrestleMania weekend. There's at least 34 names, and some of the names are Sting, RVD, Kevin Nash, Matt and Jeff Hardy, Lita, Trish Stratus, Wardlow, Miro, Raven, Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, and Dana Brooke, and more. Get your tickets at www.wrestlecon.com. That looks like that's a stacked lineup, and from the article that I read from PW Insider, looks like there's going to be more wrestlers. So that's something to look into. I wish I could go. Man, one of these years, I got to go to a WrestleCon. And I know every year when they do it around WrestleMania, man, you see the pictures and videos online, man, it's something. It's a spectacle, man. That looks really cool. In other news, TNA will be returning to Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena for tapings on Friday, March 22nd, and Saturday, March 23rd. So if you're watching this video and you're interested, go check that out. TNA Wrestling will be returning to Philadelphia. That should be really cool. And I'm actually, speaking of TNA Wrestling, I'm actually interested not only in their newest designs for their championship belts, but I'm also interested in their presentation, their set design, the ring aprons, the ropes, like just the whole presentation. Like, how's that going to be? Because I'm like, most of us are so used to having the three lights, like the rectangular lights and the black and the screen and the ramp and the red and or the maroon and black and impact, like that design. I'm really interested to see if they're going to go back to a more brighter design, like TNA had when they were on FS1, when they were shooting from Orlando. So I'm really interested to see if that's the case. In other wrestling news, Alex Coughlin from New Japan Pro Wrestling, his contract is up at the end of this month. Check that out at Fightful Select. They'll have more information on that. Also, Sean Rossap reported that MLW Kings of Colosseum event tonight is a sellout. That's a good thing. I know a lot of wrestling fans may not watch MLW. Go check it out. It looks pretty cool. I know you got Sami Callihan, who, again, he aligned with the calling at MLW Kings of Colosseum event tonight. Of course, you had Jacob Fatu facing off against Matt Riddle. It is what it is. That's all I'm going to say right there. But MLW, to have a sellout, that's really good. Just pro wrestling in general is really, really hot right now. Whether it's WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling with their changes, they're doing really good. New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle in the Valley, pretty decent. That's another event you should check out. That's a stacked card, man. Check that out. Wrestling is hot. CMLL and AAA, a lot of their shows right now have been sellouts. I know it was the last event that Andrade El Idolo was at before his last match in AEW was a complete sellout. And that's beautiful. The more sellouts there are in wrestling, the better it is and the healthier it is for the wrestling industry, because that gives more wrestlers the options to go other places, and that makes everything appealing in wrestling, where somebody they may not watch this promotion like, ooh, that's a big crowd. They go in there and everything. In other news, Mystico is announced for MLW Super Fights. So like I said, man, there's a lot of things going on in the world of professional wrestling right now. Collision, getting back to that, you got the Garcia, FTR thing. You got Malachi Black, the House of Black, Julia Hart. A question that came to my mind is, okay, what woman on the women's roster is going to align with FTR to balance the numbers? Because you got FTR and Daniel Garcia, that's 3. You got Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Malachi. That's 3. You got Julia Hart. So who's going to be the other person to join them? That's interesting. I'm actually interested to see if if and when that happens, it's got to be, they have to match it up numbers game wise, because it I see it happening, especially the way they're booking the women's division. So I would not be surprised if there is someone that is added to that feud. Bullet Club Gold and Acclaimed joining forces for the Undisputed uh, Kingdom. And also keep in mind, the Undisputed Kingdom, you got a recovering Adam Cole, so he's not active, but you have the Kingdom, and then you have Wardlow. Very interesting. And then you have Roderick Strong. So you have four guys right there. And then also keep in mind, people, you got Kyle O'Reilly that's probably going to return. And who's to say they might bring back Bobby Fish? So whatever faction is going up against the Undisputed Kingdom, they need numbers. Like, they need some big numbers. So we'll see where that goes. Hook calling out Samoa Joe. Then on Dynamite, you got Swerve and Hangman Page. It's, man, pro wrestling is so fun, right? I am having fun and I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it. But man, there's nothing else for me to say. But man, today has been a fun day in professional wrestling. Just watching the reactions to yesterday, the news of Roman Reigns and the Fatal 4-Way, Karrion Kross and his new faction. Man, it's just, wrestling's fun. I don't know how people can fight over wrestling and argue with people and spend hours online fighting with people. Just, man, there's a lot to enjoy with professional wrestling. There's over 54 wrestling promotions worldwide, so it is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the latest episode of Showtime from City of Wrestling. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when the City of Wrestling, I was going to say House of Black. That's crazy. When the City of Wrestling drops its latest content, follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, folks, until next time,